Now let's talk about protecting your IP. So before we jump into this, I just want to issue a disclaimer. I'm not a lawyer. I can't provide you legal advice on what you should and shouldn't do and what you can and can't pursue. So you may want to consult with a lawyer about what your options are regarding protecting your IP. I can just tell you about what I do, with my product and what does and doesn't work for me. So as you become successful, you are going to attract other people who are going to come and try to copy your idea. So you want to make sure that you're protected. There are different types of protection you can do: trademarks, copyrights, patents. Copyrights are ones that I typically don't pursue, just because in order for you to copyright your code that you're using, you have to publish your entire code that you have. So it's very rare that any company will go and actually file a copyright for their software, just because they don't want to give away the code that is underlying in there. Trademarks are a great way to protect the name of your software, so that way somebody else doesn't come along and make very similar software and give it a very similar, if not the same, name. You want to make sure that your name is protected. That way they can't produce, say, an inferior product and people hate it, and then they start saying that associating it with your product and saying that your product's no good when when yours is far superior. So make sure at very minimum you get a trademark. Get a trademark on your company name, the software name, anything that you possibly can, to make sure that you're fully protected. Now, trademarks only protect you in the market that you're in. So it's very important to consult with a lawyer at this point, because they can tell you here are the different categories that are applicable to you. I've found that using sites like Zoom, like UpCounsel, will allow you to get quality legal help at an affordable price. It's a great way to still get what you need, and save some money in the process. Lastly, you can also file patents. Now, just something to note about patents. I can talk a little bit about this. I have 2 that were issued to me, and some more that are pending. But patents don't protect your software; they protect the method that your software uses. So this is why you often see that Apple releases a feature on their phone, and then Google comes out with the exact same feature on their phone. And sometimes there's there are lawsuits that are going back and forth. Other times there aren't, because it is perfectly okay to copy a feature of another product, even if it's patented, as long as you don't use the same exact method that's been patented. So if you go and get to the same result, but you go a different way to get there, that is perfectly okay. So just keep that in mind as you look for patents, because they are expensive to get. They take a lot of time. They cost a lot of money. So you just want to make sure that if you're going to go and do everything you possibly can to get protected, that you get the level of protection you think you're getting. Just make sure you're frequently doing Google searches, any kind of search that you can, to try and find similar software to determine if somebody infringes on your idea. If you've got a patent, there are also IP law firms out there that will go and do these searches and fight those battles on your behalf. So just know that you do have some options, and some firms just charge based on the amount of money that they would go and sue an infringing party, and they'll just charge you a percentage of that. So it's not even something where you necessarily have to put up a lot of money in order to defend your software. There are other options over there. But like I said, I'm not a lawyer, so just check with a lawyer or several lawyers to see if there are options that will meet your budget. Now, lastly, this isn't something necessarily of protecting your, IP from other people of as much as protecting other people's intellectual property and, saving you some headaches and potential issues along the way. When you hire developers and, software firms to go and build out your software for you, is very possible and is even common practice to use things called libraries. And so what happens is there are organizations and people out there that solve a problem, and they go and they package their code that it takes for them to solve their problem, and they open source it and make it available for anybody else to use. And so, I'll give you a perfect example. Let's say you want to create a process that exports data from your database to a Microsoft Excel file. Well, there are companies out there and people out there that solve that problem. They built the library, they bundled the code together, and they said, you know what, instead of you coming up with the 1,000 lines of code or however much it is to go and solve this problem, just use our library, import it into your software, and now you just write one or two lines of code, and you can export your database results to an Excel file. Well, that's great, but when they make their software and libraries available, they issue it with a license agreement that may indicate certain restrictions on how you can use that library. So there are some that say, you know what, you can use this for any purpose you want. There are others that say you can use this for your own research purposes. You can't, sell a solution that uses it. There are others that even go far as to say, if you use this library and modify it for your needs, you have to release the code for your software that uses it under an open source license that's similar as well. So, again, just make sure that you're, being very clear with your developers that, are building your application, that, they need to provide you with, any libraries that they're using that are open source and what their license agreements are. So that way you can research and even check with, with an attorney or, with somebody that can help you navigate the process. The last thing you want is to spend a ton of time and money building something that's truly innovative and new, and then you find out that you have to make the entire code available and give it away for free when you're hoping to charge money for it. Be very careful, do your research. Like I said, there are plenty of resources available online where, if you are budget conscious and you need to hire a lawyer, there are avenues that you can go down, like Up Counsel. I've used them several times. They help me file my patents. They help me do my trademark. They also help do license review for open source software as well.